Good afternoon, everybody. A warm welcome to the session. It is warm, so I hope it doesn't get more warm than this. But I'm sure by evening, as the session progresses, I'm sure the breeze from the sea is going to make it cooler. But I'm sure what Gopi is going to tell us is going to make really think and make your inner self a little bit more warmer. So I think that both the things are going to be equally good for us. As you would have seen, the session is basically about happy human. It's reality, being real in an artificially intelligent world. So, I mean, that's interesting. Artificially intelligent world. We've heard about AI, different things, but then, how do you make intelligence artificially intelligent is something that, and we'll talk more about it. But before that, let me introduce Gopi. Gopi is his present designation is as Chief Business Strategist at Google. But frankly, Gopi, what intrigued me was the previous title you had as Chief Evangelist. I mean, for me personally, I've traveled quite a bit, but that was the first time I heard a professional tag as an evangelist, and that too in a company like Google. So I was asking him, how come, is it common? He said, yeah, in the tech world, it's common, he said. You have chief technical evangelist, you have chief internet evangelist, and he's chief evangelist. So his role basically has been mostly with brand building and marketing, basically specifically related with business strategy development in AI, specifically to that in Google. But I think, as the introduction said, he's also a yoga practitioner. Not that he practices yoga, but he's got a team of people whom he supports, and I think they're called yoglers.
The yoga program for Googlers.
That's
yoglers.
Right. Yoglers. So it's called yoglers. For the Google yoga program, it's called yoglers. So it's a very interesting thing. And he's also a TEDx speaker. He's written 2 books. The first one is The Internet of the Internet.
Internet to the internet.
Yeah, internet to the internet, yes. Internet. So I was fortunate to be in that session in the morning. Lovely thoughts that he had. And that helped him probably write the second book, The Happy Human. Now, as I was reading the book, I loved the introduction that you have written, Gopi. He said he thought, he's written the first book, so it would be easy to write the second one, because he was writing what he was practicing. But then, I think as he started writing, he realized it was not that easy. And on that note, I think I'll ask the question, Gopi. So, why did you give it the name, The Happy Human?
Yeah. But before I answer the question, I just wanted to tell the audience 2 things. First is, I told Joseph I'll try and make this bilingual as much as possible. But you'll have to bear with me because my Malayalam is actually only at street level. So I can speak street Malayalam, but not necessarily what we call Sahitya Malayalam. In fact, when I was listening to the previous panel, I was just sitting there completely mesmerized by the words that they were using. It sounded more like Sanskrit to me than Malayalam. And I know I couldn't even pull out those kind of words. We don't use it on the street. Malayalam, like Japanese, has got 2 styles, right? The street side and the more erudite, literate side. But despite that, I'll give it a try. But രണ്ടാമത്തെ കാര്യം എനിക്ക് പറയാനുള്ളത്, ഞാൻ കോഴിക്കോടാണ് പഠിച്ചത്. ഇവിടുത്തെ കേന്ദ്രീയ വിദ്യാലയത്തിലാണ് ഹൈസ്കൂൾ കഴിഞ്ഞത്. അപ്പോൾ ചെറുപ്പത്തിൽ ഈ ബീച്ചിലൊക്കെ വന്ന പഴയ ഓർമ്മയുണ്ട്. So sitting back here on the beach and on stage is a very, very special moment because I got fond memories of my parents bringing me to this beach. So I'm delighted to be back at a place where I have so many roots and that I believe gave me the foundation for what I do now. In fact, the principal of the school, or one of the principals since then, came for my book signing, and she was not my principal, but the fact that she was a former principal of the Kendriya Vidyalaya, as soon as somebody introduced me, I ഉടനെ എണീറ്റുന്ന ഒരു സലാം വെച്ച പോലെ ഇപ്പോഴും അതേ സ്നേഹവും മര്യാദയും ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു ആ ടീച്ചറിനെ പ്രിൻസിപ്പളിനെ കണ്ടപ്പോൾ. അപ്പോൾ ഈ ബുക്കിൻ്റെ ടൈറ്റിൽ എങ്ങനെ?
Exactly, yep.
So I'll switch to English because some key ideas I express myself better in English, so bear with me. Every 90 days or so, in any corporation, I'm sure in India or in the US, a wave of suffering will reign. It's called your performance evaluation. And during that season, so all of you here, you work in a professional job, might recognize it. When you have your performance evaluation, everybody walks out of the door unhappy. Because no matter what rating you are given, if you get a bad rating, you're unhappy. If you get a good rating, you walk out thinking, I did so well. How come people are not saying, why didn't they give me the extraordinary rating? So I had my season of suffering one quarter, and I was walking around the Google campus with my coach and mentor, Stuart Newton, and I was complaining to him about performance rating and grades and promotions and climbing up the corporate ladder with a bigger title, etc. And Stuart, my coach, mentor, friend, stopped me at one point and said, Gopi, wait, hold on. I'm going to ask you this question. What title would the Dalai Lama give you? And this is not a facetious question. I'd actually seen His Holiness in the Dharamsala 3 months prior. So Stuart said, what title do you think the Dalai Lama will give you? And I recall at the time that when I met His Holiness, here's a person who lives in exile, never been connected to his people. And yet when you meet him, you feel a sense of joy, the way he laughs, and it sort of like bubbles out from him. And I reflected on that. I said, the title I want the Dalai Lama to give me is the happy human. So my friend Stuart turned to me, put his hand on my shoulder and said, Gopi, let me tell you something. The happy human is a higher title than senior vice president. Because the senior vice president wants to be happy, but does not know how. And I thought that was so profound. I said, I'm going to make that my title. I actually got name cards printed. It said, Gopi Kallayil, the happy human. I said, that's the title I want people to give me. And that's how finally led to a publishing deal and a book.
That's interesting. Thanks to Dalai Lama, mentioning it, and probably you thinking that might be the best one. നമ്മൾ ഇപ്പോൾ ഈ വാട്സാപ്പിലും സോഷ്യൽ മീഡിയയിലൊക്കെ ഇഷ്ടംപോലെ മെസ്സേജുകളൊക്കെ വരാറുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ അതിനകത്ത് ഒരു മെസ്സേജ് വന്നത്, ഒരു സ്കൂളിലെ ടീച്ചർ കുട്ടികളോട് ചോദിച്ചു, നിങ്ങൾക്ക് എന്താവണ്ടേ, ഭാവിയിലായി കഴിയുമ്പോൾ എന്താവണ്ടെന്ന് ചോദിച്ചപ്പോഴത്തേക്കും ഓരോന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. നിങ്ങളൊക്കെ കേട്ടിട്ടുള്ള വായിച്ചതുള്ളായിരിക്കാം. ചിലർ പറഞ്ഞു ഡോക്ടർ ആവണം, ടീച്ചർ ആവണം, പലതും പറഞ്ഞു, ബിസിനസ്സുകാരനാവണം, ലൈക്ക് യു മേ ബി വർക്ക് ഇൻ ഗൂഗിൾ ആൻഡ് ഓൾ ദാറ്റ്. അപ്പം ഒരു പയ്യൻ, നമുക്ക് ആ കുട്ടിയുടെ പേര് രാഹുൽ എന്ന് കൊടുക്കാം. രാഹുൽ ഒന്നും മിണ്ടാതെ ഇങ്ങനെ നിൽക്കുക. അപ്പോൾ ടീച്ചർ ചോദിച്ചു, രാഹുലെ നീ എന്തൊന്നും മിണ്ടാത്തേ? ഇല്ല ടീച്ചറെ, ഞാൻ ആലോചിക്കുക. അപ്പോൾ എല്ലാവരും പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ രാഹുലിനോട് ചോദിച്ചു, നീ ഇപ്പോഴും പറഞ്ഞില്ലല്ലോ. അപ്പോൾ ടീച്ചറിനോട് പറഞ്ഞു, ടീച്ചറെ, ഐ വോണ്ട് ടു ബി എ ഹാപ്പി പേഴ്സൺ. അപ്പോൾ ടീച്ചർ പറഞ്ഞു, മോനെ നിനക്ക് ഞാൻ ചോദിച്ച ചോദ്യം മനസ്സിലായില്ല എന്നാണ് തോന്നുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ രാഹുൽ ടീച്ചറിനോട് പറഞ്ഞു, ടീച്ചറിന് ജീവിതം മനസ്സിലായില്ല എന്ന് തോന്നുന്നു എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ ഐ തിങ്ക് പ്രോബബ്ലി you required your performance appraisal to probably look at it that way.
Yeah.
Now from that point of but then naturally what you've written in the book is much beyond what has happened. However, in the world that we are in, where the artificial intelligence and artificially being intelligent is becoming more predominant, communications, PR, all of that becomes, your DP is different from your real self. So how do you actually become the real person? What is it that actually brings about the real person, in wherever you are, in whatever circumstance you are?
Yeah. So, no doubt, my day job is to work in artificial intelligence, and it's going to be one of the most important, profound technologies.
By the way, I love artificial intelligence. I use quite a bit of it. I mean, may not be with the Google, I use ChatGPT, but then, yes.
Exactly. So it is going to change every aspect of our life, from music to manufacturing to publishing. All that is well and good. But at the end of the day, if you drill it down to ask any human being, any country, any culture, anywhere in the world, the fundamental driver of our human existence is happiness. If you examine any aspect of what you do professionally, what you do with your family, what your aspirations are, why you might buy something, or the hope when you get married, all of that is really the pursuit of happiness. In fact, it is so fundamental that in the US Constitution, it is even built in. One of the fundamental inalienable rights, they say, of every person in that society is the pursuit of happiness. And if you stop and think about it, the founding fathers must have been very wise. They only promised to give you the right to pursue happiness, not necessarily capture it. There's no guarantee you'll be happy. You're free to pursue it. So it is such a fundamental thing. Any culture, any society, if you ask, it's what brings us together as human beings. Happiness is a fundamental quality. And the reason I came up with that subtitle, Being Real in an Artificially Intelligent World, is that you can have all of these technologies in artificial intelligence, etc. It's useful, it's got a utilitarian value. It does not necessarily make you happy. what finally makes you happy is going to a fundamental human quality of being real and in yourself. So this was one of the conclusions I reached.
Yeah,
That
but then,
happiness is a fundamental human state, and you can only experience it when you're fully, undeniably human.
and I think that's the biggest challenge also, isn't it? Like specifically the day we are here today, with the social media, you're being bombarded with so much, including how communications. Like for example, you travel to a particular geographical location, your ads get targeted. The algorithms are so fast, evolving so quickly. In that scenario, also there is a whole aspect of FOMO, fear of missing out. I mean, with the young generation that you have here, how would you kind of tell them about how do you kind of take care of how far is far and how less is less? What is the good? How do you cut it off? Specifically in social media, you're talking about the likes you get, the hits you have made. So how do you handle that part of it?
So first of all of these technologies are out there, they're useful, but they are inert. None of them is forcing you to do the things that you're choosing to do.
Okay.
Okay, there is that choice. And this is where, in our culture, Vivek എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ quality of discrimination.
Yes.
So you choose whether you're going to use these technologies or whether you're going to become a slave to them. Are you in control or are you being in a slave? And this is what you all have to ask. Each one of us have to ask for yourself. I don't want to sit here and preach, but my own pathway, in fact, in the book I call it stumbling to happiness. It wasn't a very measured, decisive way of getting there. I had to stumble my way across happiness. I'm still stumbling my way through. And part of it, what I discovered was being attracted to the distractions of this world, as I call it. You have to be careful about to what extent that it completely takes over your life versus you use it to support your fundamental human quality and be happy. So here's an example of that, what I mean by that. It is true that using this device at the palm of my hand, it's the size of a deck of playing cards. There's incredible things I can do with it now that, say, my grandfather, who was a farmer, a rice farmer in Chittilanjeri in Palakkad, the same village where Shobha is from, Shobha Tharoor. The Tharoors are one of the families from Chittilanjeri, so it's my family. So I have much more power in my hands. And an example of that is I have a translation tool here, Google Translate, that translates into